Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Chasing Daylight podcast. It's been a while since we've had an interview, and I'm excited for this guest mainly because I am actually trying to get myself to be a little bit more fit. I've gone through some struggles over the past, I don't know, 5, 6 years with work and kids, and my fitness has declined dramatically. And so I am excited to bring on Brad Thompson, also known. What's your hashtag? What's your Instagram handle?
It's a Brad Thompson Golf Fitness.
Brad Thompson Golf Fitness. So you are a golf fitness guru, and I say that because more than one person has told me that. You're working at Elevate is where you're based out of,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
Which I have heard just amazing things about. But let's do the hey, let everybody know your background, your story, and what you're all about.
All right. So I'll start from the very beginning. So I've been playing golf my entire life, and I'm born and raised here in Las Vegas. So
Hey, nice.
I
There's
know.
not too
So
many of us.
one of the few. So born and raised here in Las Vegas. Golf has been a huge part of my life, pretty much my entire life. Played competitively as a junior golfer through college and even after college as an amateur. Then I got into golf fitness it wasn't something I was like searching for. It kind of just happened, oddly enough. So my golf instructor, I don't know if you know Greg Lavelle. He was at the Butch Harmon Academy. So
Okay.
anyways, he was my longtime swing coach, and he was starting a junior golf program called West Coast Elite. So basically, the premise of it was they were going to have this full, like, all-encompassing junior golf program where they had a golf instructor, they had fitness, and then they had a medical practitioner on staff. So he's like, "Hey, I'm starting this. I'm partnered with this chiropractor, and I know you're really into fitness. We need someone to do this." So I was like, "Sweet!" Like, it sounded awesome. So got into that, went through the whole TPI certification thing, got certified to train people, and then the chiropractor was like, "Hey, I'm starting a gym. I want you to come on board." So that's kind of how I got involved with it, and I pretty much started out with golf, and that's what I've been doing for the last going on 12 years now.
Okay, so being a born and raised, I have to ask a question. What high school did you go to?
Las Vegas High School.
The new one up on the mountain?
The new one.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
So I'm an East Sider myself. I went to Chaparral.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, so you got to. If anybody doesn't know, Vegas people, if you run into somebody that's born and raised, that's the first question you ask them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So did you play? You played golf at Las Vegas?
Yeah, so played there, played a little bit in college, and then played some amateur stuff after that. But it kind of came down to like, well, I got to start. I got to find a career. I did want to play professionally there for a little bit, but then it kind of came to a point where it was like, I gotta do something with my life.
Did you do any like USM qualifiers or anything like that?
Yeah, so I tried qualifying for like US Junior Am. I made it to sectionals of the US Open qualifier like my sophomore year of high school, which was awesome. It was out at Legacy. That's when Legacy, for those who don't know, back in the early 2000s,
It was so good.
It was so good. It was one of the best. It was probably the best public course in town.
Yeah, that's why I tell everybody, like, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, like you said, you tell somebody you're going to Legacy, it was like, ooh, you fancy.
They had the greens running like an 11. The course just used to be great. But yeah, so made it through there, made it to the regional qualifier, sectional qualifier, and that was in El Caballero Country Club in Tarzana, California, which is kind of like in the Hollywood Hills area, if I remember correctly. And had a decent junior golf career. So yeah, but golf's just been a huge part of my life, pretty much my entire life.
So on a daily basis, are you working just strictly with golfers, or do you have other clients as well?
No, I'm pretty much 100% strictly working with golfers.
Nice. So
Yeah.
what would you say is the biggest misconception that golfers have about golf fitness?
Um, so they think the fitness, it needs to exactly mimic the golf swing itself. So the golf, like if you look at the golf swing, there's a lot of moving parts, but there's also, it's a high, you're producing a high amount of force, you're producing a lot of speed. So they think that, okay, if I take this dumbbell and I swing it like a golf club, or I take this mini or this band, swing it like a band, that you're actually doing something, when in reality you're not doing what you think you're doing. Because to create like the changes that you're looking to create, it's gotta be a little bit more intense. So that's probably like the big misconception. And another misconception is like, well, I mean, there's a lot of them, but lifting heavy weights is bad. But there's some benefit. But it's just like anything else. If you do it wrong, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
But if you learn how to do it correctly, progress it correctly, add weight at the appropriate amounts over time, then it's very safe for you. It's very healthy. But people tend to try to lift too much weight too soon with bad form, and yeah, you're gonna hurt yourself for sure.
So what was your reaction when you saw Bryson come out just yoked?
I mean, he understands the physics of it. So he's like, hey, like if I weigh more, I'm going to be able to put more force into the ground. And all things being equal, a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle. So like if you add X amount of, say you had 10 pounds of muscle, well, you weigh 10 pounds more now, so you're going to be able to produce more force relative to your body weight. So he was on the right track there. I think he might have pushed it a little too far, because what tends to happen is it's a rotational sport. It requires a lot of mobility, and if you do push it to that extreme, you're gonna kind of rob Peter to pay Paul. Yeah. So you're gonna lose some mobility at some point. Like, perfect example, like if you look at like powerlifters or bodybuilders, like they're really strong, really big. They're not known for being the best movers in the world. Like they can't really move all that well. So it comes down to, it's like, okay, we need to get you stronger, bigger, but we're not sacrificing your ability to move and swing the golf club the way that you want to.
So where would you start with somebody trying to get them to understand how golf fitness can improve their golf game? Because you see the ads, you see the Instagram posts, add 10 yards just by golf fitness. Is that a reality? And how do you, where would you tell somebody to start with golf fitness to improve their golf game?
So, I mean, it's kind of like anything else. So if you were to go to, say, the mechanic, and you pull your car in, like they're going to do some sort of like diagnostic. They're going to do some sort of assessment. They're not just going to look at your car and be like, oh, you need this. So really what you need to do is you got to go through an assessment process to really figure out what this person needs. So kind of break it up into a few buckets. So you look at range of motion, you look at strength, or how much force they can produce, and then how much power they have, power or speed. So the first thing that I always start with a movement assessment. So typically what I'm doing with that is I'm just looking at pretty much every joint in their body, and I'm looking, hey, how much range of motion does this joint have? And does it have enough to do what you're trying to do in your golf swing? And it usually is, if someone's struggling with something in their golf swing, they usually don't have enough range of motion to do what they're trying to do. So that's going to be step number one. Because ultimately, like you can get the fastest changes in club head speed and ball speed by taking someone who's kind of stiff and just giving them more mobility. Because just think, like, if someone's trying to make a longer turn, like a longer backswing, you have more time to speed that club up. So you got more time to create speed. So giving someone more range of motion is going to be like step one, because that's going to be the easiest, like lowest hanging fruit. And then next, we're looking at how strong are they? Can they produce enough force? So we check lower body, check upper body, and we're just kind of looking for, like, okay, are you strong enough to hit it as far as you like? So if they're a little bit low, okay, that's going to be the next lowest hanging fruit that we're going after. Because if you can't just produce the force at all, like it's going to be tougher for you to produce it faster. And then third, we're going to look at power. So we can do like vertical jump, med ball throws, stuff like that. To where we can look at, okay, how's your power with the lower body? How's the power with the upper body? How is it when you're putting it all together? And then we kind of just take all that and just be like, okay, where are the lowest hanging fruits? Where can we put the most effort or most time and get the biggest like bang for our buck initially?
So, and you put together a plan based on that, and okay,
Correct. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So how much have you seen the industry change since you've been doing this? Because golf fitness wasn't really a big thing. Everybody started seeing Tiger Woods working out, Rory started working out, and then of course, Bryson of late. But has it changed a lot over the last, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah. Even back to when I initially got into it, it's funny. It's kind of like, if you follow golf, there's always these pendulum swings where it's for instance, like if you remember like stack and tilt, and then it kind of got away from that. Now it's kind of like going back to something that resembles that.
Yeah.
It happens like that in fitness too. Like there's always these like huge pendulum swings. So when I first started, it was people weren't lifting as heavy. They weren't trying to like push the strength or anything like that. It was more like, okay, let's do lower weight, higher reps, stuff like that. Then it's kind of swung all the way to the other direction where it's like, okay, let's get these guys as strong as possible. We're going to train them like basically football players, where we're trying to get them their deadlifts as strong as possible, bench press, squat, get that as strong as possible. Now it's kind of like swinging back to the middle where it's like, they all have a purpose. It just kind of depends on who you have in front of you. So it's definitely like, it swings back and forth. But right now it's kind of like, it's still, golfers are still like lifting heavy and still trying to get strong, but it's not as, they're probably not pushing that as hard as they were probably like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. Do you think any of what Tiger Woods was doing when he was hitting the gym hard has anything to do with his medical issues now?
Yeah, I would say it definitely contributed. Because I remember, like, I'm sure you've seen the meme of like what his daily schedule was back in like 2008.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
Him running that many miles with a weighted vest on like every day, and then along with the practice schedule that he had and how many balls he was hitting, all that, it was just too much work in general, and he did that for a long time. And yeah, I honestly think anybody's body would break down. Like it was, I definitely think it contributed for sure.
Yeah. I think some guys can take it a little bit too far to the extreme.
For sure. And I don't think he's one of those people that if he's going to do something, I don't think he kind of dabbles. Like
it's all or nothing.
Well, that's why he is he is who he is. And that's why
true.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, then, is it flexibility over strength, or is it a combination of flexibility and strength?
It's definitely a combination. So what I look for is, okay, can we get the range of motion first before we start adding a ton of strength? And again, like there's a lot of variables that kind of determine this, but everybody is different. Everybody kind of moves differently, is shaped differently. So certain people are going to be more like predisposed to have more range of motion than others. But really, it's like, can I get you the range of motion that you need to get into the positions that you're looking for in your golf swing, as well as get you into the positions that we need to get you into in the gym? So I'm not trying to make like the most like flexible mobile people. Like I'm not trying to turn them into gymnasts or anything like that. But if someone has like no, like, let's just say like hip internal rotation, and you give them 10, 15 degrees of hip internal rotation, that could be game changing for someone from a swing perspective, or even from just like a pain, like reducing pain standpoint. So we want to try to get them as much as they can within a certain limit. But then from there, we got to definitely want to get them stronger, start resistance training and all that. But we want to kind of do it in a way to where it's like we're not robbing, like I said before, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Yeah. We're not losing that mobility. Like, and you can do certain things to kind of help, like, maintain the mobility while you're lifting. It really just comes down to lifting with good technique and all that.
Okay, so we've been talking about the new golfers that have come on since COVID, the 100 million new golfers, and we're anxiously awaiting what we call the Great Reset, to where all these people go back to what they were doing before they picked up golf.
Yeah.
How has that been for you, being in the fitness industry as far as golf? Are you seeing a lot of new golfers coming in?
Yes and no. I mean, it's more of like a steady stream. Like, definitely during COVID, it was a weird time for the gym space.
Yeah.
We were able to still train people and kind of keep our doors open. But it was definitely a weird time. But as far as the people taking their fitness seriously, there was a lot more people back then that were more like I got more time on my hands. I'm ready to come in and start training. Now it's kind of, like you said, it's kind of coming back towards like, okay, like life's a little busier. Like, I got more stuff going on. So like I don't think people are they're a little more reluctant to come in and start like putting a full effort into the fitness.
Are you seeing, like, how long typically does someone stay with you as a client? Or are you seeing it, has it changed over time, or are people like, hey, this is actually really helping me, I want to continue doing this? Or do you find a lot of people that come in looking for a quick fix and then they're out?
Yeah. So it depends on the clientele and the level of golfer. So with the more competitive golfers, especially like professional golfers, because especially if they're like on the mini tour or like that, they have to try to, like, their tournament schedules are crazy. So especially like over the summertime, from like spring to like early fall, like they're on the road all the time, and the tournament golf is consuming their life. So for them, it's a little harder because they're always traveling, and whenever they go to a different hotel, like you're kind of at the mercy of
what they have.
Like you might go in there, like they might have a full dumbbell set, like a few machines and like some cardio equipment, and then you might go in there and it might be a bench at a 10-pound dumbbell. So they're kind of at the mercy of that. And then plus too, like just with all the work that goes into traveling and tournament prep and all that, it's a little harder for them. But what I always preach is like, your main goal, if you're a competitive golfer, the main thing is like, once your tournament season starts, if you can just maintain basically everything that you built in the off season, you're going to start your next off season in a much better spot. And so you can do that as little as like lifting like 1, maybe 2 times a week. And it doesn't need to be this like super, like, you don't need to go in there for like 90 minutes and like 2 hours and crush it and be smoked. Like, you can go in there and just like do a handful of things pretty intensely and then just be done with it. And you're going to be able to maintain a lot of the qualities that you're looking for. So it's like strength or speed or whatever. So when you're during the off season or during the in season, like it's just mainly about maintenance. So you're doing just enough to maintain everything, so that when you start your off season, you're going to be in a really good spot. Then you just kind of continue to trend upwards instead of this like, okay, I get stronger, more faster, and then I dip, and then you're just kind of doing this where you're not really trending upwards. But for my other golfers that are just kind of recreational golfers, where they're here for fitness, but then they also too are looking to kind of shave a few strokes off their golf game. Those are the ones that they're a lot more long term, where I see them kind of week in, week out throughout the course of the year, unless they're traveling or anything like that. So it just kind of depends on on the golfer and what their main goals are.
So what would you say is more enjoyable working with? Somebody that is new to fitness, or somebody that is like obsessed with it?
Are you talking like fitness or like golf? Like fitness, using fitness to get better at golf?
Yeah, yeah.
I honestly enjoy both, but I really do enjoy the people who are coming in. They're like, hey, like I'm trying to do this very specific thing in my golf swing, and I can't. Like I thoroughly enjoy that because I feel like so one of the downsides with fitness is it's not instant. That's what everyone's
Right.
looking for. They're looking for instant, like, okay, I come in and worked out, like I reach my goals in one session. Like that's unfortunately not how it works. It takes a lot of work over time for a long time. But with a lot of like, so if I'm working with a golfer, I'm like, hey, like I want to like get into my trail hip and my backswing, like I can make that a little bit more immediate where they can like, I can assess, do my thing, reassess, like, oh, look at all that range of motion. Then we go back and have them swing a club and like, oh my gosh, like I can actually like get into this hip now. And then like that's like I enjoy those sessions more because I can see it like instantly. And then I know I'm making this like instant change in their swing and instant improvement in the golf game, or almost instant improvement in the golf game. I love that, but I do enjoy like when you lay out like a training, like say like a 3-month training cycle, and kind of everything just goes how it should have, and then like you reassess and you see these like nice improvements in like their vertical jump or their strength numbers or range of motion. Like I like them both, to be honest, but I do enjoy kind of like the more like specific things. I just because I mean I love golf, I love the golf swing, and I just love like those are fun.
One of the craziest things that I've ever experienced as far as exercise equipment or whatever, it was this vibrating plate that you stood on.
Yeah.
Have you done right? So I had a friend who was one of the teaching
But
pros at
power plate. Yeah.
what's
It's a power plate.
Power Play. Yeah, he was a teaching pro at Dragon Ridge at when the Nicholas Academy was there, and he was helping me with my swing for a little bit. And he's like, "Here, come over here and stand on this." And I'm not a flexible person whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Just bend down and reach down as far as you can to touch your toes." And so I could barely touch my toes, right? And so he turns this machine on, and I was on it for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. By the time my palms were like under my feet, and I was like, "Oh my god!" He goes, "Now go swing, go swing." And I was like, "I need that like on a cart." It's incredible. It was unbelievable. Just that how it freed you up. Of course, it doesn't last, but the ability to do work and get to that it's amazing to see how it can change like that. So how many golf professionals are you working with right now?
I've got 5, and then I've got a handful of high level amateurs, junior golfers that are going to be really good. Yeah.
Are you seeing the junior golf game in Vegas get better?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, especially these last 4 years, especially on the women's side or the girls' side, there's some really good junior golfers that are coming out of Vegas, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, we've had Yana on the show before.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Unbelievable player.
Yeah, there's going to be some really great talent coming out of here, and I think in the next couple years, which, well, I think ongoing for a long time, but it's kind of surprising that we haven't had more like stars come out of here. I mean, we've got a handful, but I mean, when you look at Vegas, we have all the tools to make like really good golfers. I mean, we got the weather, we got the facilities, we got really good instructors here in town. So it's good to see that it's finally starting to come to fruition, and I'm really excited to see like the future and especially the current ones now where they take the game, because I think there's a handful of girls that can really be some like world beaters.
Yeah,
and I'm excited to see.
So
one of them is so one girl that I'm working with is Bryn Court.
Oh yeah,
she's going to be, if we can get her to hit the ball a little bit farther, she's got kind of all the tools. Mentally, I mean, she's like there's something that I've worked with a lot of like really good golfers, and then I've worked with some golfers that were good but never quite like reached their potential or never kind of like broke through. And it's interesting, the ones that are like world beaters or really good, their mindset is very different. Like if I say, hey, we're doing this, they're just like, okay, and they do it.
Wow.
They never complain about it. They never like, or even too, like when they're talking about tournaments, like they always say, yeah, I made this mistake, but they never like, it's where they get mad, but they don't get emotional about it. And they just like, they learn from it and they move on. Whereas some of the people that I've worked with in the past that never quite like broke through, if I said, hey, we're doing this, they're like, do we have to do this?
Oh yeah, you could just tell right away.
So you can just like in the mindset, you can just see something like there's just something different with those those players that are like really good, and then the ones that are good but like never quite made it through. It's just their mindset is just different. Like they're always up for the challenge, whereas they just,
that's awesome.
Even if I can just say the most ridiculous thing, they're gonna be like, okay, and even if
let's go.
Yeah, they do it. Like it's just like little things like that you can see with golfers that like it makes perfect sense. Like when you look at golf, it's very mental, and it's if you can go out there, like you're gonna hit bad shots. You're gonna like nobody doesn't hit bad shots, but if you can go out there and like, okay, I got this situation, I got to find a way out. They're just like, all right, this is what I got to do.
Are you seeing a lot more junior golfers getting into golf fitness than in the past?
Yeah, for sure. It's started to be so especially like for those golfers that are trying to play Division One, especially on the not so much on the female side, but more on the male side. Like what they're looking for now, like they're looking more for guys who just bomb it. Like because if you look at I can't remember what the ball speeds were at this like past NCAA, but like if you look at like what the average ball speed at the NCAA championship is, and then what you look at like what the Korn Ferry average ball speeds are, and then you look at PGA Tour, like collegiate ball speeds are faster than Korn Ferry. Korn Ferry is slightly faster than PGA Tour. So those are all the guys that are kind of funneling up to the PGA Tour. So they're like being club head speed is a huge asset. And really, like, if you are not, unless you're just like this, like, naturally gifted golfer, like, just naturally gifted freak athlete, like, you need to hit the gym in some capacity to even compete. Because what happens is you get these guys that have very similar skill levels, but they're like hitting a 20 by you. It's like,
yep,
it's going to be really tough to compete with that.
Yeah, I encourage anybody to go out and watch the Southern Highlands Collegiate Masters.
Yeah.
Because you will be stunned at how far these kids hit the ball. It is
They're just like cruising at like 180.
It's insane.
Like it's silly. It really is silly. But if you look at it, that's kind of the future of golf. But I don't think golf is just going to continue to get longer and longer and longer and longer. Like it's kind of happening now. Like yes, Rory does hit the ball far. Like all these guys are hitting far, but it's like there's some guys that were on tour this year that just absolutely crushed the ball. Like hit it a lot farther than Rory does. But they're pretty far down on the money list.
Yep.
So it's like I don't think it's going to be this thing where I think it's more kind of like this like inverted U curve kind of deal where it's like yes, like ball speeds and club head speeds, all that distance is going to get a little bit faster. But I think like it's not just going to be this kind of ongoing thing. Like because you still got to keep it on the course. You still got to like position in a good way. And like Rory is like watching him drive the golf ball. He may be the best driver of the golf ball maybe ever.
It's insane. It's
insane. For
such a thing to watch.
In that straight.
Yeah.
Statistically, he doesn't really hit that many fairways, but he's just like barely off the fairway. He's always relatively in a good spot.
Yeah. I think the media likes to jump on, they're hitting the ball so far, and you look at the eras of the past, the guys didn't have the analytics that they have now. They didn't have the computer technology they have now. They didn't have the fitness education that they have now. And I think it's just everything is coming to a head that these guys are taking advantage of everything at their disposal to make themselves just premier golfers.
100%. 100%.
And I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing.
it
It's inspiring for me. You know, I
Yeah.
want to be physically better. And I want to play better and hit the ball longer. Who doesn't? So
Yeah. Well,
it's encouraging.
yeah. And this may be a little off topic, but I mean, the whole like roll back the ball, that was a whole thing for a while. But I think the one thing that the PGA Tour needs to do or should do is put more courses in the tournament schedule where distance isn't a fact. Like Hilton Head, for instance.
Yeah,
You can't just
Humbertown.
go out there and vomit everywhere at Hilton Head. Like
Yeah.
there's just a million. They have to have I don't know how they pick the courses and how all that happens, but they have to be able to get some courses where driving distance is at a premium. Like it doesn't it forces you to play more like position golf.
Yep.
You can't just go out there and just bottom driver all day long.
Yeah, I think that's why I think with Augusta moving 13 back and making the approach shot what it's intended to be. You know, I can respect. I mean, yeah, when that course was built, the guys were hitting driver 3-wood into that green. So the game has changed a little bit, but I would love to see more courses where the guys have to be crafty around it, and I mean, how many times have you been out and played a course that's got a 90-degree dog leg that, with tall trees, hey, you can't take it over. You actually have to hit an iron shot accurately to set up, your next shot. I would love to see more of that on tour.
Exactly. Like that. I to me, I think that's the easiest way to fix that.
Yeah. Grow the rough to 5 inches. Make the greens incredibly firm and fast, and they can be done without messing with the ball. So
exactly.
Tell us a little bit about Elevate. What's going on there?
Yeah, so Elevate is a kind of like an all-encompassing facility where, we do offer fitness, but we do also have medical professionals on staff. We do have massage therapy, we have nutrition. So it's kind of, and we have like recovery modalities. So it's basically like we're trying to make it like a one-stop shop to where we have a lot of people who we have the way that some of our memberships are structured. You can take advantage of all of those, but a lot of our members they train with us. But with our so we have people who are taking advantage of our fitness, but then also too they are being treated by our medical staff, because we get a lot of people who they're weekend warriors, or they're they work for a living. So they're at the desk all day long. Then they're active, and then once you get a little older and you're like, oh, I got a little aches and pains, but I also want to be able to train. So it's a perfect case scenario where they can come in, they can get treated. The medical professional tells us, hey, okay, this person has this going on. So these are basically their red flags. Stay away from these, but they can still do this, this, and this. So the people can still treat their injury, but also get fit at the same time. And that's kind of like a big misconception too. It's like, okay, well, if I have an injury, I just got to shut it down and rest completely. Well, it's like you can actually there's still a lot of things you can do if it's, again, depending on the injury. But if you're able to train everything else, you're actually going to help that injury heal quicker.
Yeah.
But then also too, you're not going to lose fitness at the same time.
Yeah, I've got a knee injury right now that is, I'm terrified to find out what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
I had ankle surgery a couple years ago. I had a ruptured tendon in my ankle, and so I was out. I was on the couch for 12 weeks, and so it's just it's scary, but I got to get it checked out. It's driving me nuts.
Definitely get it checked out, see what's going on. But at the same time, there's always other options.
So, what's membership rates, or what are you looking at to get out there and get involved at the gym there?
Yeah, so it really depends. We have a lot of different types of services. So, I mean, we have large group training, we have small group training, then we have one-on-ones. So it can really range anywhere from $189 a month to a couple grand a month. Just depending on what you want and what you're trying to do. So we have a lot of different services that we offer there. What I do whenever I'm working with a golfer, no matter who we have, we always start with an assessment. So the assessment process is kind of like one of our like core pillars that we have here. Because even if someone is just coming in like for general fitness, well, it's like we want to make sure that whatever exercises that we're giving you out there, you're not going to get hurt doing them.
Yeah.
Like perfect example, like I mean, if you want to like do a chin up and your shoulder only goes this high, I was like, well, you need like 180 degrees of shoulder flexion to do a chin up to just hang. So it's like that's probably not going to end very well. It's something you're probably going to get hurt. There's something's going to happen. So we can make modifications around that towards like we can get as close to that exercise as possible without actually doing that and putting yourself in a like a compromising position. So we always start with that, but then with golfers, if they're looking for like, hey, like I want a program, we always start with the assessment. So it's a movement assessment along with a strength and power assessment. So that we are, and then we have 3D motion capture like K-Vest and all that. So we can really get into the nitty gritty of like, okay, what's really going on in your swing? Then we can look at how your mobility, your strength, your power is affecting your golf swing. Looking at the K-Vest data and your 3D data. So like for instance, I just worked with a golfer. So her lower body power she's got more lower body power than upper body power. So when we look at the K-Vest, I don't know if you're too familiar with it.
Yeah.
So it measures pelvis, rib cage, lead arm, wrist, kind of like peak speeds. So her pelvis and rib cage speeds were like at the higher end of like LPGA norms. But then her arm and her wrist, like peak speeds, were at the lower end or even below average. So essentially what's happening is she's creating a ton of power with the lower body that's getting lost getting to the club.
Not transitioning.
So,
yeah.
Yep. And then when we looked at her power output, so she had her vertical jump was good, and then her chest pass and sit up and throw. Those are the throws that we use to measure upper body power. They were lower compared to her vertical jump. So when we look at like a training program now, it's like, okay, if we're going to get her to where her lead arm and her wrist are faster in her swing, we got to get those power numbers with the chest pass and sit up and throw closer to the range of her vertical jump. So right now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to just basically like maintain her vertical jump and her like lower body power, but then bring up her upper body power so that they're gonna match. And then when you look at her swing too, like she always has a tendency of getting her hips out in front of her way too quickly, because it makes perfect sense. So when you have that, you have all that data, and it's like, okay, this is why you swing the club the way you do. It's very powerful. Yeah, and then it's really cool. So it's like now we put together a program that's like, okay, we're gonna just maintain your lower body power, but now we gotta focus really heavily on getting your upper body stronger and faster to match what your lower body does. And we see that kind of all the time with golfers where they're like, I'm doing this thing in my swing and I don't know why, but we can tell them why. And then when they like, any golfer, if they know why they do it, they're going to be like, all right, I'm going to all right, this is what we need to focus on. And like, all right, I'm going to do that. Because
that's me. All right. So someone that's listening to this is as inspired as I am. I'm geeked. I want to come down there right now and get an assessment to find out what the hell's going on. What do they go about connecting with you? What do you recommend?
So you can either reach me through Instagram. You can just shoot me a DM through there, or you can call Elevate Sports Performance and Healthcare directly, and then you can say, "Hey, like I want to set up an assessment with Brad," and then our front desk will be able to handle that.
Awesome. So I'll have all that in the show notes for everybody. I'll have links and everything to the website and phone numbers and everything, and Brad's Instagram.
Awesome.
Hey, so before we go, we got some Vegas. You're born and raised, so I gotta drill down on some Vegas stuff. What's your favorite course in town?
Are we talking private, public?
Whatever. Just if someone says, "Hey, I got a tee time here," you're like, "I'm in. Let's go."
Yeah. So Southern Highlands is probably my favorite like private course. Outside, I haven't played Shadow. I haven't played the Summit. I haven't played the Wind. So those are the only 3 courses in town I haven't played. But Shadow's amazing. Or I'm sorry, Sohai. Sohai's amazing. I just love that when you're out there, it's so green. There's so many trees. You don't feel like you're in Vegas.
Yeah, that's how Shadow is too. You don't feel like you're in Vegas at all.
Close second would be like Las Vegas Country Club.
Love that place.
Mm-hmm.
Such a fun trek through history on there.
Such a fun, great.
What was your home course growing up, or do you have one now?
Formerly Desert Rose.
The ditch, baby. East side.
Yeah. I played a lot out there, and oddly enough, I played a lot out at TPC Las Vegas. Or back when it was TPC Canyons. If you remember that. Yep. So I played a lot back. Those are kind of like my two home courses, but I played majority of my time out at the ditch.
Man. Great memories out there. I have so many fun stories about the ditch.
Well, good and bad. But.
We used to tell. So I didn't play sports in high school. I was a tiny little kid.
That was your home course too then, wasn't it? Or was it Stallion? Or did you play golf back then? No,
I didn't. I just was rec golf with my friends. I'm a natural lefty, and so none of my friends were left-handed golfers. So if I wanted to play golf with them, I had to borrow their clubs. And so I play right-handed now because of that. But we used to ride our bikes down to the ditch and tell them we were on the Chaparral golf team. They'd let us walk for $3. So I mean, so many good stories, but that place is it's got a special soft spot in my heart, even though
well, it's funny. So that was my home course in high school. So to get playing privileges out there, every Monday we had to go pick the ditch. So like on the charter. So it was so at the time it was Las Vegas High School and El Dorado. We both kind of shared the same course. So they get one side of the ditch, we'd get the other.
We have a game we play when we go out there. We call it ditch bingo. You're gonna see a homeless person. You're gonna see a Coleman cooler, a red Coleman cooler. You're gonna see a shopping cart. You're gonna see kids playing in the ditch. There's gonna be a police car. There's gonna be it's a riot, man. You know Matt Plummer, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we had a tournament out there last year, and he said his wife told him, "You can never come here ever again." Anyway, okay. So, what's in your bag? What are you gaming?
So I've got kind of a mixed bag. So with the wedges, I got SM7s. With the irons, I've got 712 MBs, which they are. I've been thinking of upgrading, but at the same time, it's like they look and feel like I don't know if I can like. I don't know. I don't think it's worth the change because they do everything I want them to do, and they look great. They feel great. So I have a U500 driving iron. That's kind of is my 3-iron. I got a TS3 3-wood. I got a TSI 3 driver, and then I just recently got the Odyssey Bird 7 putter. So it's kind of similar to like the Jailbird, but it doesn't have the colors and the inserts. Different. It just has the traditional white hot. And I gotta say that thing's money. I've been a blade. I've used a blade my entire life, and I'm just thinking like, okay, all these guys are starting to use it and they're like being successful with it. I was like, all right, I'll just buy one and see what happens. And honestly, the thing is, it is very forgiving, and it's very stable.
Yeah,
and it feels great.
I switched to a mallet this year. I've been a blade guy my whole life as well, and I switched to a mallet this year. And I mean, my putting hasn't improved enough to say that, hey, this is better for you, but I'm a lot more comfortable with it. So
there's something to it for sure.
Right on. Well, hey, Brad, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're a busy man out there helping everybody get better fitness with their golf game. Thanks again, man. You got anything else you want to throw out there to anybody?
No, not that I can think of. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm hooked. I'm ready to figure out what's going on with this 50-year-old body and see if we can get it in some better shape and get my golf game improved. So I'm going to be reaching out to you for sure. And then I'll be, you know, talking to everybody about this and following up and letting them know how it's going. So again, thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule to hop on with us. And I look forward to working with you, man.
Yeah, likewise. I appreciate you having me on the show.